Hello everyone and welcome. Yes, my name is Arafire. Welcome back to another episode of Look Out and Shout. And away from third party onto mainline, because today we are reviewing TakaraTomy Transformers 1 Brave Commander Optimus Prime, or Orion packs. A lot of this box is actually not in English, in Japanese, Chinese I suppose. And yeah, so there's not really a lot to understand on it, but the box itself is very nice, very Takara-like, if you know what I mean. They do tend to go for the deco, very outstanding pieces of artwork from the film and product shots all across the back of it. He is possibly a bit limited for what he comes with, a few gimmicks here and there, only the couple of accessories, figure inside with himself, as well as the instructions. Clear plastic shelling, very nice, very big box. So again, if you haven't already seen it, I do implore you to go and watch the film Transformers 1. It's such a good film, and I did a video review on it recently to drum up a bit more hype for it. I have seen the film a couple of times now. It's just so good, and what led me to get this figure, really, to go down the Transformers 1 line, there's so much to it to like, and the fact it's leading to further toy lines. Yeah, we've got a lot that we can get our teeth into here. A lot that we can enjoy with the fallout of the film. Okay, let's get into it, shall we? And here he is in his Orion Pax robot mode. And it's a very sizable figure. It's got a lot of presence to it. When you get it, is it too big? I do get the impression as to what class this might be. I really do feel this is in a class of its own. It's not really scaling with Chug. Well, maybe it is scaling with Chug because he becomes a very large figure come the end of it. But of time of recording, there isn't anything else to scale with this figure, not really. So whilst this is maybe to symbolise the upgrading of Prime from Orion Pax by the end of the film, because he gets obviously quite large with the Matrix, it is a little bit out on its own, I feel. Not that it's necessarily a bad thing, but you do get the sense of largeness, large scale, as soon as you take it out of the box. But it does have a nice, fun presence to it, particularly when you get it in hand. Otherwise it's all fairly representational of the film, isn't it? It's a very small chest that's going on. He's quite large in the backpack, which will house most of the alt mode. The chest is quite small by comparison, and so is the waist, and then it goes into these rather large, long legs. It's a design choice, and of course it matches the film. It's just his chest isn't as prominent as we're used to from G1. It's just a slightly different design, that's all. But we are used to a more blockier chest of Optimus Prime, or even Orion Pax. Let's get in for a closer look. So I'll see if I can zoom in a bit and get that head sculpt on the go. It's got this very happy-go-lucky kind of face on, which is fine. Nice blue transparent plastic for the chest. I would like the grey being used to be more of a white colouring. Again, I know it's representing the film, but as I thought when I've handled the Chug version, the deluxe version that's come out, that's very grey. It's just something I would have liked. Otherwise, yeah, the articulation is pretty good. He can look up, but you do get a bit of mistransformation. Can't look down any more than that. Left and right, now I've unhinged the back a bit. It can come a little bit apart, but nothing that can't be reapplied. Elbow outward quite far nicely on a friction, forward on a friction, bicep rotation, elbow bend, singular elbow bend, and very stiff opening hand, but at least it's a hand opening nevertheless. Waist rotation, very nice one. Friction out for the side of the leg, forward on a ratchet, friction at the knee, slightly more of an outward ankle bend than an inward one because of Prime's legs getting a bit in the way, but the ratchets on the hips are a very nice addition. And you can rotate his vent stacks all the way down to get that kind of flamethrower effect that he has going on in the movie. Although you can't really tell that they're one way or the other, and they're a little bit stiff. I almost didn't think they went, but they do rotate round and clip into place again. So it's something you can do, but he does have additional play feature which works as well in alt mode. On the back of his arms you'll see this black hinge, which if you do that, brings out an arm cannon, which is a bit gimmicky. but is a bit more arsenal for him because he doesn't come with a gun. So yeah, at least he's got something that he can fire from now, otherwise he would look a little bit armless. Now of course you'll notice this is Orion Pax, but he can become Optimus Prime. So to do that we first need a matrix, which is a very nice looking matrix. I don't know if it's going to come across on camera, but the gold paint that's used is lovely. It's clear at the back, but to get that into his chest, pull down the bottom section, lift up the top, you'll see a circular bit in the middle. I prefer to go with peg down at the bottom there, pushes in and closes up, and you can just about see that through. But then he will need to become Optimus Prime, and to do that his head goes up, and this is a little awkward, but his head will rotate around to reveal the traditional Optimus Prime head sculpt, and that is nice. I'll see if I can zoom in a bit. Nice accents on the side of the face there, nice faceplate. The eyes may be a tiny bit small, maybe they kind of fall away a little bit, but it's a nice head sculpt. It goes with the head overall, and it's kind of the truer form of this character. I will say, when I first got this figure, first impressions, I was somewhat underwhelmed, but having it more in hand and transforming it, there is a bit of fun here. There's things that it does do right. Whether it's a definitive version of a Transformers 1 Orion Pax Optimus Prime remains to be seen. I have handled the deluxe version, and that's a very good version for a much smaller scale. And what Prime wouldn't be complete without an Energon axe? Now, as you probably guessed, it plugs in to his hand. Somewhat unimaginative perhaps, but they kind of all do this these days, even the Masterpiece versions do. And there you go. It's a nice axe, it's a big axe, it's obviously a blue axe as represented in the film, it's not an orange axe anymore. That's fine, gives a much more Energon vibe. That's his only real weapon. I haven't found anywhere for storage on it necessarily. There are some various plug holes around, but I don't know if he's really meant to store it anywhere when he's not holding it. He might just have to hold it, or it lives in the box. But that's how he looks with his two accessories. He has a matrix within him, he's changed his face around, and he has an Energon axe to go for the full Optimus Prime features. Okay, onto some comparisons. Here he is alongside Generation 1, A War for Cybertron, Kingdom Cyclonus. Different classes and obviously different universes of Transformers. It's quite surprising because this isn't the smallest figure, relatively speaking. You really do see how big this guy actually is. He quite dwarfs the competition. I don't have any other Transformers 1 figures to show you at present. I will rectify that as time goes on. But yeah, that's how he looks. It's quite a bit different. And obviously two characters that didn't share the same screen. Here he is alongside Takara Masterpiece Beast Wars Optimus Primal. Only comparison I wanted to show you is that this is indeed a Masterpiece figure, and it's scaling in a Masterpiece range with the other Beast Wars figures, but look how much that Takara figure, and not a Masterpiece figure, towers above it. Really is quite a difference for a Masterpiece comparison, but that's how they look nevertheless. Here he is alongside MMC's Optus Pro Minion, their War Within style Optus Pexus mould of an Orion Pax from IDW Dreamwave really, but comic universe Orion Pax versus Transformers 1. Quite an interesting comparison. I have got this guy crouched down a little bit. He is quite tall when standing upright, so I imagine, as he's this kind of tall anyway, he will stand at least height-wise with Prime or Orion here, Transformers 1, but you do see a close resemblance anyway. Quite cool seeing these two together. Entirely different takes, but again going for that Cybertronian vibe. And the only other Orion Pax I've got here is the War Dawn set from Legacy, I believe. Here he is alongside a much more chug scale Orion Pax. Very small, no real comparison, but I suppose it's Orion to Orion, albeit this guy in Optimus mode. But that's how they looked side by side. Okay, let's get this guy transformed up, shall we? Now that he has a cog. And here he is in his alt mode. This is possibly the selling point of the figure, or maybe one of them. It's a very good looking and a very nice screen representation of Optimus Prime. It looks really, really nice. It's got that chunky vibe that comes across from robot mode, really transcribes well into alt mode as well. As a truck, maybe not the most truckiest truck design. It's a Cybertronian truck. He actually only has rear wheels for rolling purposes, which I'll show you in a second. And this cab, this front section, is actually a faux piece from his backpack, which I thought was quite ingenious. You don't actually get that on, well, chug figures. I'm hesitant to call this a chug figure. It's Takara. It's official, but it doesn't feel like your standard chug figure. But it does look really, really good. The transformation was actually quite fun and fairly advanced. I would possibly say the transformation is this toy's biggest selling point. It's a nice puzzle. Some nice ratchets, nice bits you need to move. You can work it out without needing the instructions, just you looking at some reference images for what you need to get to and from. It is nice. It is good fun. It's got that chunky side that really lends itself well to a vehicle of this side. Let's get in for a closer look. So if I bring him towards the camera, if I show you the underside first, you can see a bit of an unfortunate gap there. It's quite large, but you can see more or less how he transforms, where the arms go. These are the wheels I was telling you about, and whilst they're fine, and they do roll, provides a bit of movement, well, he still, depends on the surface, more or less slides. He doesn't have any front wheels, and I would have thought maybe something could have folded out at the front here if you're going to have 4 rear wheels, unless I've done something wrong. But otherwise, the red is quite a muted red, bordering on a burgundy almost. It's a very subtle red. It's not sheen, it's not reflective. It's not to say it's bad, but when the light's on it, you do see a softness to that red, if that is a word. But otherwise, you can more or less tell how he's going to transform. Now, I will show you this toy's gimmick. You push in these hinges here, if I can get it into some kind of light. And yep, he's got spring-loaded arm cannons, which is a nice little feature. I can't remember him firing in the film from this mode, from front-facing cannons. I remember Bumblebee mounting towards the back of him and firing over top. I could believe it though. I could get it, but yeah, that's a nice little sort of flip-out play feature, which I must admit I didn't really know. And you just kind of put them away, and they clip away nicely. But other than that, not much else to say. He is a truck. Now, he will store, because it's a faux chest piece, if you put his matrix in his robot chest mode, which is sort of under here, it will live in there. His other accessory, of course, that he comes with is his Energon axe. Now, I've seen one image suggesting this, that the axe more or less sits on this peg, which looks like it's designed for a trailer, and that's storage. I think that's right. I can't find anything too concrete to suggest it. And it just kind of more or less sit. It is just sitting. It's in a groove, I suppose, and it is over a section. But yeah, it's not the most definitive connection. I'm not saying that's right, but I have seen somewhere back here that you can store his axe, and that's the only place I can really think of it. It has got a bit here you can plug onto the side, so I don't know, does that go into the top? Does it go into some of these peg holes on the side? I mean, you could do that, but why would you? Yeah, that's the only thing I can think of as to where it goes, but I don't know if it is or it isn't. But, talking about this, interesting that there is a peg. Okay, for real worldism, but in the film he did not have a trailer. I do wonder what a trailer would look like, and are they leaving something a bit open here? Is it something that one day could come out of a trailer, and what would that look like? Well, this might have to do. It's the only other Optimus trailer I've got lying around. Here he is alongside the trailer used for MP10 or MP44. Yeah, that is quite a nice sight to look at. In many ways it looks very complete, but obviously this is very much an Earth trailer. This is a Cybertronian mode. We could get into the discussion of he doesn't always need a trailer, and why would he need a trailer, and you're paying for the trailer and all the rest of it. But it always looks more complete when Optimus comes with a grey trailer of sorts. There have been other offerings out there of Cybertronian S trailers that I think would go quite well with this design. This is obviously not one of them, just the only one I've got. But yeah, there is option potentially. Maybe it might have to go into a second film, a third film, if it gets that far, for Takara to release a trailer to accommodate this alt mode. Okay, on to some comparisons. Here he is alongside an older third-party figure in Make Toys' Striker, Manus. I really like this. This is my kind of Cybertronian alt mode for Prime. You do see similarities though, in that kind of futuristic, almost arched down design. I know this is very square fronted, but you do see some similarities when we look at Prime's vehicles for what might be on Cybertron. It's not very Earth-like machines that we see with Generation 1. Much different time between these two releases. This is much older figure now. I forget which year this came out, but I do really like how they look, and they're more or less the same size. Kind of a Chug scale figure, Chug plus figure. But I do like seeing these two. I really do like this figure for what it is. That's why I keep it in this mode. But putting the two together, yeah, Cybertronian vibes, very nice. Here he is alongside Magic Square's Light of Freedom, their first offering of an MP scale Optimus Prime. I kind of keep this as my Earth mode for Prime in truck mode. Not really a comparison you can draw. This is definitely Masterpiece scale, where this arguably isn't. Yeah, and completely different aesthetic going on. It's still Prime and it's still the same colour scheme, same colour palette, but it's, yeah, quite different when you look at it. Different companies, different approaches, different scales, different ranges, but the same character. And here he is alongside the definitely Chug scale Bumblebee Origins Wheeljack from the pilot episode of Morna Meets the Eye from Generation 1 cartoon. Do like this. That size is possibly more in keeping. Again, different scale ranges, but yeah, it works fairly well when you put the two of them together, because this is a very blocky Jazz, and you would argue a vehicle of that size for Wheeljack, would be a big size anyway. But yeah, that's how they look side by side. And here he is alongside a typical Masterpiece Carbot with MMC's version of Hoist. No real comparison here. Again, different ranges, but the Masterpiece Carbot scale is kind of a set standard now, so I thought I would show you that nevertheless. So what is my view on the Bold and the Brave? He's got a lot of charm to him that didn't really strike me at first. When I first took him out of the box, I thought he was a bit large, certainly, and just maybe a bit lacking for a Takara release. And I think that was one thing that really stuck in my mind. This wasn't your generic Hasbro figure. This was a Takara figure. And I thought this was to have a bit more, like when you see Takara repaints, they're a bit shinier, a bit more work's gone into them, a little bit more polish. And maybe it didn't hit me when I first got him. Transforming him back and forth, I like this figure more than I initially did. Now, I haven't got it to show you, but I have handled the recent Deluxe through the Hasbro mainline of Optimus Prime from Transformers 1. It's much, much smaller, but there's a lot of fun to that figure. I'll probably get it for my collection. But it's not to say there's not fun here, but it's surprising for what is quite a bit smaller than this figure that offers just as much fun. The big selling point for this is I actually think the transformation. It's a good transformation. It's a clever transformation. There are elements now of high-end Chug or mini Masterpiece, depending on what you want to call it. Things like the ratchets, the very nice, the interchangeable heads, the nice little additional gimmick for the chest. It's not full of gimmicks, and there's a couple of things that I would have liked, but the opening and closings of hands, that's very nice. The alt mode is good. I do think maybe it's a bit of a, well, as is with Prime's truck, is what do you do when he's in truck mode? You drive him around as a truck, because other than opening and closing doors, you can't do an awful lot else. By the way, when I had him in alt mode, I meant to turn the vent stacks the other way, and I forgot to do so. So that's on me. The gimmick turning from Orion packs into Optimus Prime, nice. Yeah, it works. It shows as part of the film, really. If you wanted to be really, really picky, he doesn't go into Optimus Prime while still being at this size, but I think it's the same when he gets his cog. He sort of upgrades then, and then when he gets the Matrix, he upgrades further. So it's not a straight growing from one form to another, how you first see him at the start of the film, when he's much smaller, much slender, to then this at the end of the film. The paint is lovely, it's fine. I do think the red comes across a fair bit muted, whereas the blue actually is quite vibrant. It's a very nice blue. I do like it. I like the posability. I would have liked it to have come with his gun that he uses in the iconic shooting pose just for completion. The price-wise, I mean, I got this for £55. I get the impression you're paying that for the Takara name on the top of it. But, I don't know, of this size, if it was a leader class bot in the Chug scale, in the Chug line through Hasbro, you'd probably be paying that anyway. We have been for the Dinobots. So, it's nice, Whether or not this is the definitive Optimus Prime or Orion Pax from a Transformers 1 film is up to you. As I say, I've handled the deluxe version from Chug, from the main line, and that's a very good figure, albeit considerably smaller. I feel size is this guy's selling point. And he looks good. He's not a bad robot mode, but I feel what you're getting, the presence, the heftness, the build, the bulk, a fun transformation, and actually quite a good looking alt mode. The size is lending into that. More features, more playability that a bigger bot will allow. Things I don't like about it, I feel the eyes could be just a little bit more there. I don't really know what else to say about it. Just I notice when I look at it, they're just a little bit small, if I'm being picky. And I would have liked it to have come with a gun. But I like the features it has. As I say, initially I didn't have the wow factor, but messing around with it, I've grown to like it a bit more than I did. But its gimmicks are quite nice. The flip out gun feature comes out pretty well. Again, in bot mode or alt mode. The Matrix is a very nice looking Matrix. And the Energon Axe, again, is a nice feature. I would have just liked it to have come with a gun. I like the head swapping out as well, which is something I actually think we should see a bit more of going forward from Orion Pax into Optimus Prime. I think if you're going to bring out any future releases, we know where he's come from. We know the transition. So a flip around, change face shouldn't be too hard to engineer. And based on that, I give this figure 3.5 Rodimus Star Badges. Not to say it's bad. I just feel maybe the initial wow factor, possibly with the paint, wasn't an absolute home run. I feel potentially this could be the best Prime out there, but I think there could be other offerings. I'm also keeping an eye on YOLO Park, seeing what they're doing with their COG versions. And some of the other Blockies figures that are coming out now, some of their classics line going into the bigger scale bots, I feel that could maybe take the prize. But as a transformable figure, maybe this guy takes the prize for a minute. But again, the deluxe version is very good. I guess it depends how you house your collection. And there we go. That is my review of TakaraTomy's Transformers 1 Brave Commander Optimus Prime. I'll stick some photos up at the end. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to like, share, and hit that subscribe button because I will see you on the next one.